Good morning. It is time for the Mike Hewitt Show, brought to you by RenegadeRiver.com. And now your host, Mike Hewitt. And we have a full studio this morning, do we not, Mike?
Oh, we do. We got people everywhere. I'm trying to hanging off the chandeliers. Jim Riley is riding shotgun and way out the other side, and we've got Ludwig von Wiedendorski sitting in the middle.
Ludwig, gotta love that.
Ludwig von Wiedendorski, often referred to as Matt Wiedenhoft. Welcome, gentlemen. And, of course, Brian Thomas is keeping us on track and on time.
I will do my best.
That's a challenge. I don't know how you're going to make it.
I have to meditate every day.
I bet. I can see it Listen, a little deviation from the normal show. It's the day before Christmas Eve, so Christmas Eve. And what in the heck are you doing?
Got a gravity issue.
Oh, he just sit a little lower than you guys.
Holy moly, he was there, and all of a sudden, boop, right straight to the floor. Listen, what I wanted to do today, being that it's Christmas, is kind of back away from my normal hardline hitting politics stuff and talk about Christmas itself a little bit. And so the approach to the show today, don't you know? First off, we're going to babble a little bit about Christmas in different lands and some strange customs. And then I'd like to maybe share some old-time memories, because I'm almost 55. And I can tell you that the difference between Matt's view of Christmas and mine is different just by the changes in generation. And, you know, there's 4 people here in the station, and if you want to call, you're more than welcome to. By the way, the phone call in is 231-830-3109 if you've got a happy Christmas story, because I'm not going to do too much negative, other than let me start off by saying it is not politically correct to cause people to stifle their own expression of faith in honor of your own. And I say that because I'm not going to ever, if you walk in the Renegade River, you are never going to hear me say Happy Holidays. You will hear me say Merry Christmas. But on a brighter note, with that, one of the things I found surprising while doing a little show prep, I was looking at Shirley Temple Christmas messages. And just to let you know that Happy Holidays is not some new invention, she had Happy Holiday Christmas cards back in the 1930s. So it's not always what we paint it to be, and sometimes we have to step away and look a little bit on a wider view to get it away from our own little political vernacular and understanding. That's just not something new.
Well,
and it wasn't always derogatory.
Well, yeah. Happy Holidays, back certainly up until really probably the last 10 years. Happy Holidays, in many cases, would have been synonymous with Merry Christmas. Today, the Happy Holidays and the various other incarnations actually becomes a bit of a political issue. And there's a professor in Florida who has now said that because of the offensiveness that certain verbiage like Merry Christmas is viewed by folks in America, has sent out a card saying, Happy Federal Holiday. That is the new meme going through the left so that you do not offend people. Happy Holidays. Of course, holidays sounds a little bit, and in fact derives from holy days. That in itself can be offensive to some. So if you get a card from someone wishing you Happy Federal Holiday,
it's going to go straight to the trash can at the Hewitt house.
Go.
Just so you know, my sentiment on that is get.
Yeah, you
done.
Did Bing Crosby sing a song called Happy Holidays? Was it Bing Crosby?
Yep. Now, here's the difference. And of course, I said up front we were backing away from hard-hitting politics, but of course, that's never exactly the case. The difference between Shirley Temple's time, Bing Crosby, and now is that the uber left, and I'm not talking about your average Democrat walking down the street, folks, the uber left, the folks that say they don't believe in religion and by definition what they espouse is a religion, okay? They're really after, in my view, pulling the underpinnings of the United States apart politically, not an attack on Christian faith like I think is often interpreted. And the reason I say that is by far and large, most Americans, even if not practicing, self-identify as Christian. And so these folks that are atheist or agnostic will not all of them, I don't want to paint with a big brush and be like them, but a lot of them will attack the Christian faith, and they'll actually they'll defend Islam, for instance. So while defending Islam, they're attacking all faith. We're against all faith, but they'll defend Islam while attacking Christianity. And when I sit and I pause, I go, what are they getting at? It always feels like to me that they're just attacking the tradition of the United States, which is, like it or not, which is Christianity. Most of the founding documents are Christian-born, etc. To me, these things aren't debatable. You can reject it, that's fine, but you can't say it isn't true, because it is. That's just the reality of it. So part of what I wanted to do in this first segment is along this line. We've had Jana Kenichi on the show several times. She was, in fact, I tried to get her for the show and I couldn't get her. I think she's already on a Christmas trip. And I say it that way because Jana was born and raised in the Soviet Union, Russia.
Oh, boy.
And she was on the show, and listen, it was one of those moments where it still sends a shiver up my spine. I had her on the show, and she was here for a whole hour. And, of course, the show was broken into 3 segments. And in the first segment, she described what it was like to be a child in the Soviet Union. So when I'm talking to a woman that's in her 50s, she came to the United States in her 30s. So we're looking back in the 60s. And she's describing remembering times when there was only vodka and bread at the general store, food stores. Remembering that the Soviet government adopted Marxism and the ideology that says the opiate of the masses is religion. And so they were a very Catholic Christian driven people by far and large, not entirely, but by far and large. And the government of the Soviet Union put down things like Christmas. They had winter holidays. They didn't have Christmas trees. No word Christmas. Everything was replaced with holiday.
Well, you could go to prison if, in fact, you advocated any religion whatsoever.
Absolutely, poof, gone. You are out. Where happened to Uncle George? Uncle George said, "Merry Christmas." And so now I listen to people. Anyway, let me tell you about Wojana's view of this. So she describes in the first segment what it was like to be a young child. She describes in the second segment what it was like to be a young adult, get married, have kids. By the way, she had a degree in ballistic missile technology. So we're talking about a very different culture than the culture that we've got in the United States, where we can say Merry Christmas, or not, by the way. You don't have to, but you're never going to stifle me. And it's because of people like Jana Kenichi that I learned so much from this lady. So we get to the third segment, and I said, Jana, you've been in the United States for quite a while now. Tell me what you see. What's happening in America? She said, that's what I've been telling you. And it scares the bejeebers out of me. And so I pause, and when we get to days like today, Christmas Eve, I say no surrender, no retreat. I am not backing down. They cannot, I talked about the nativity scene a week or so ago. They cannot fit my faith in the museum in Grand Haven. It won't fit. Don't care what you do with the cement and pieces and parts. You can't fit my faith into yesterday's news. Ain't going to happen. And I hope a lot of people, regardless of their faith, by the way, I don't even care what your faith is. No surrender, no retreat. I believe that passionately. It's one of the reasons that I sponsor the show, so that I can help people remember that. I think it's crucial. So that's how I see that. And what do you boys
I
think?
remember when I'd go shopping as a kid, and everybody in every store said have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, or you would say Happy New Year.
But listen, that's
I don't
happening
hear
again.
That. It is. That was where I was going. Was even last night I stopped at Burger King. My wife wanted something to eat. I know, Mike, you probably think I did, but she actually did. And we had the guy bring out the shakes late, and he's like, Merry Christmas. I said, hey, you too. By the way, thanks for saying that. I've had more people in the last week say Merry Christmas to me at places than I probably have in the last 10 years.
I had an employee from the ATF on the telephone, and at the end of the phone call, she said, Merry Christmas.
Did you call to see if she still works there?
I'm going, jeepers, did the ATF just tell me Merry Christmas?
Well, you know, the sad thing is, and we laugh, but frankly, I don't think it's a laughable nor a funny issue. In the United States Army, a military diversity training officer has instructed U.S. soldiers at Camp Shelby, Mississippi, not to use the term Christmas. Now, this is our federal government. President Obama is the commander-in-chief of all of our military forces. This is not, by the way, an aberration. We know that in Veterans Administration hospitals, were those military veterans who have given, if not their all yet, a significant portion of their lives. They are not allowed, not only are they not allowed to use the term Christmas, many of the things that we might not even think would be affiliated with Christmas, like the term Merry, have been banned from their own rooms where someone may be there for a significant period of time. The patients are not allowed. This is a true war. This isn't a joke in any stretch. As a matter of fact, I love the fact that you started out with the story of the Soviet Union. So many people today, sadly, so many adults weren't even alive when the Soviet Union wreaked its murderous havoc on the world. The culture of communism and anti-religionism, the war against religion was massive.
Jim, those folks that weren't alive then or that are not aware, they take the freedoms that you and I are talking about today so for granted. What was the recent poll we saw a week or so ago with one of the Ivy League schools where 40-some% wanted to get rid of the First Amendment?
The freedom of speech, if it in fact offended someone. Ivy League.
If the United States is exceptional, we can debate it. I believe it is, but I believe it is because of the First Amendment, not because of a genetic thing, not because we're here and they're there, but because of the First Amendment. If we are, that's what makes us exceptional.
Why do people come here?
You can't do this conversation anywhere else in the world. And even here we've got folks that are saying, Americans, that are over, in fact, part of the problem. Maybe they've got so much resource. Maybe they really are, as I've often quipped, a victim of our own success because they don't know what happened to those folks. And it can happen again if we surrender. I'm not going to. I believe that, but to say that religion is the opiate of the masses, Karl Marx. The irony to that is that there's something inside humans. This is not a Christian, a Muslim statement or anything else. There's something inside humans. I believe this, by the way, that causes us to have a need to believe in something greater. The folks that say I'm an atheist, they believe in that. And by the way, they're probably Star Trek fans, and they believe in that future. And they're probably Star Wars fans, and they believe in that future. Whatever it is, people, I've never met a person that didn't have faith in something, because I think it's a human calling to have faith in something.
Well, the difference is that if you have a faith in whatever it is, it may be celebrated, and certainly they're allowed to say it. Let me give you another example here, and sadly, the examples are just endless. This is Walter Reed National Medical Center. This is a Veterans Administration hospital, one of the most famous hospitals in the world. The chief of staff of Walter Reed banned family members, now these are family members visiting their family members who are patients in this American hospital, banned family members from bringing Bibles to the facility. Colonel Chuck Callahan's memo stated, no religious items, Bibles, reading materials, and or artifacts are allowed to be given away or used during a visit. Now, this is a true
listen, Jim,
war.
To me, I believe that person is treasonous.
Well, this person is operating under the direct acceptance of the chairman or the president of the United States, who is in fact the commander-in-chief of the military. This is frightening.
By definition, I think he's treasonous. Well, I really genuinely do. Just a little on a side note, one of our listeners, I think he's on vacation somewhere, so he's probably listening to us on iHeartMedia.com. Larry Hausman, he sends us a message. He says, Merry Christmas to you both. Totally agree with your discussion. Sounds like McDonald's is bucking the system, and I hope he's right.
Yeah, McDonald's
in Tennessee.
And posting Christian themes on their windows.
Well, at least the Christmas, celebrating the Christmas season.
Here's the irony to that. McDonald's are franchised. So if you see a McDonald's in your community that is not participating or is turning a cold shoulder, or some of them may be reaching in the opposite direction, this is the choice not of McDonald's corporate, but of an individual franchisee.
Well, that's true.
I saw a calling on Facebook last week to raise, what was it, a boycott, which I don't believe in the first place, but to do a boycott against Burger King because there was some franchisee in France that was adopting Islamic Sharia principles. And listen, that to me, that can be market driven. If they're in a community where their community is now Islamic, it's no different than me saying I'm in a community that's largely Christian. So if that's what their community wants and it's a market-driven issue, it's whose business it is of mine.
Yes, you're not running around trying to stop these folks, and therein lies the difference between someone like you.
I don't want to silence anybody.
Exactly.
I just don't. I think that it's what I said. It's a human need to have faith. Far be it from me to ever say you can't have that faith. What an arrogant thing for somebody to say to somebody else. And by the way, a supremely ignorant thing for someone to say to somebody else. Listen, when we come back, I want to talk about some strange Christmas traditions around the world. That's what we're going to do in just a few minutes after the break.
And back to the Mike Hewitt Show, brought to you by RenegadeRiver.com. Mike, we're into segment 2.
We're in there. We are in there. Listen, my idea of diversity is to look around the world and see what other Christians are doing. That's pretty diverse, isn't it, Jim?
Well, it's not just Christians, of course, that celebrate the season. It's Jews also. But, yes, different Christians in different countries have...
And listen, that's an interesting point I plan on getting to. It's in my notes. I get a lot of Jewish friends that send me Christmas cards on, electronic digital cards now.
Sure.
Where there's a lot of shared customs, and their heads don't spin around on top of their shoulders. They don't vapor lock or nothing. Listen,
they don't vapor lock. How do you know? It's the internet. They might be vapor locking.
They could be vapor locking.
There we go.
Like, oh my God, I've got to force my fingers to do this. Oh my goodness. Listen, in India, Christianity is obviously not the major religion. There are 2.3% of the population, according to the Indian government, that are self-identifying as Christian. Well, it doesn't sound like a very big pool till you look at that. The math on that is 25 million. So you got 25 million Christians in India, and they've got some differences, but the one that I want to talk about just for a second is that their Christmas tree is a little different than ours. It's a banana tree. That is the traditional Christmas tree in India for Christians. It's a banana tree. Now, they decorate it and all that, but it's a banana tree.
Now, I have seen banana trees. They are deciduous.
I'm looking at it. They got decorations on it.
Do they have little monkeys on them, too, like in the banana plantations? I'm always worried about monkeys.
I thought for a minute you were doing artwork for the Washington Post.
Yeah, that's another story.
Evil group of animals those people are, in my notoriously humble opinion.
Well, you're referring to they're really dumb and nasty cartoon.
They made Cruz's children out to be monkeys in a cartoon. Can you imagine for a moment if a show like mine or any kind of print anywhere had done that about any of the Democratic presidents? It's just insane how far these folks go.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, folks, on a little side note, if there were a division between the uber left and us, they'll call us the uber right with a smile when I say it that way. If there were a division of states, there'd be a civil war. There really would. The division is not reconcilable. Sometimes I think that. I want to be wrong, I really do. But man, making out someone's kids to be monkeys is just deplorable. It just is.
Well, it's in very bad taste, and it's a reflection of the Washington Post, one of the premier newspapers
elitist
in the world,
rotten people
that they would have allowed that. It went through, of course, the cartoonist, who was a Pulitzer Prize winner, by the way.
Well, you got to be a socialist to win the Pulitzer Prize,
and all the various editors. Again, yes, there is a one-sided nature, and that's you're bringing up. Let's get back on track to the Christmas theme here. The different areas.
It's a banana tree.
It's a banana tree, which I think is really cool.
Okay.
Do they decorate it with the things that we might hear? Do they have little hanging bulbs and things of that sort?
There's Christmas bulbs.
All right.
Look at that. It's just the exact decorations, relatively speaking, that we would have. There's a picture. You can't see it, folks, but it's Christmas bells and balls and
that's great.
Tinsels, and there's the normal things that you would see on it, but it's clearly a banana tree, and I wonder how many of those bananas are left. I'd be eating them right out there. Oh, where'd that go? In the Czech Republic, evidently, a lot of folks save their weddings for Christmas Day, and part of that is to throw the shoes, toss your shoes, and get hitched. Is the
oh, that's interesting.
tagline?
Yeah,
That kind of cool thing, I think.
within the Czech Republic.
That's a Slavica, Czech Republic.
Something they do in the Netherlands is they give each other a chocolate letter for their first name.
A chocolate letter?
Yeah, so we give you a chocolate M, we give Jim a chocolate J, chocolate B.
Sure, okay.
And that's the
All
gift
right.
exchange
Where's this that does that?
in the Netherlands.
That's what you get is just the chocolate?
Yeah, actually,
Well, that's
my mom's
because of
friend.
Nestle's is, of course, a Dutch company. So one might suspect that there might be a little interest there.
Jim, you're always looking for the negative.
I'm just bringing up the fact that Nestle's is a wonderful...
Well, my mom's friend, Fritz, you've met him, right? Fritz that comes in the shop there. They get his chocolate letters every year, and he's straight from the Netherlands.
I've met him, and I think the world of him, but I never have any idea what he's saying. His accent is so tough. And listen, I really like him, but I spend my whole time going, what'd you say? What'd you say? He's a good guy. In Japan, Kentucky Fried Christmas, KFC, is the Christmas dinner of choice.
Oh, yes. You know, it's funny. In particular...
I didn't know that.
For folks who do not celebrate Christmas.
Yeah.
And on Christmas Day, I thought it was somewhat local here, but I've read some articles just in the last week. Jewish families traditionally on Christmas Day will go out to an Asian restaurant, typically Chinese restaurants.
Yeah, they're the only thing
and
open.
if you drive around, well, perhaps that's the only thing open.
It's the only thing open.
I don't quite
I've done that
understand
before.
Or Speedway.
the rationale, but the reality is that it's become a big tradition throughout our country. And wherever you drive, wherever you may be, you will see on Christmas Day, probably the only, other than perhaps a fast food place, the only restaurant that will be open will be Asian. And most of the clientele in many of the cities will be Jewish families having their celebration.
Yeah, a lot of it, but I have to tell you, there was, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but there
Christmas
was
Story.
It was Christmas Story. They did the same thing because she burnt the dinner.
No, the dogs came in the back door.
No, the dogs ate it.
And then
whatever
they
it was,
knocked everything out. And
dinner
ate
was
it.
trashed and ended up in
when
an
they
Asian
went to it, they went to the Asian restaurant.
Yeah,
There's
they-
a Chinese restaurant in those.
Yeah, but
yes.
in this case, though, for KFC in Japan, this isn't a deviation from. This is the celebration of Christmas. So these are Japanese Christian people. In fact, I'm looking at the face of this KFC from an outside. There's a big old. The inside area where you'd be standing in line is jam packed. And there's a line with like a theater rope that goes outside and down the side of the building. There's pictures of women dressed in Santa Claus outfits, there's a couple pictures or posters. They're celebrating traditional Christmas, but they're doing it with a KFC dinner.
Looks like a line for a new iPhone.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. And they have Christmas cake in Japan.
One of the traditions we used to do is we'd go to the movies on Christmas. The movies are always packed. The movie theaters, they're one of the few things
The
that
only
actually
time,
open.
the only time I've ever seen a movie on Christmas Day was Magnum Force with Clint Eastwood. What a great Christmas story that was.
It's one of my favorite movies, too. I would love to do that.
Yeah,
That is too great.
I was a young man when that came out, but it was my dad and my brother-in-law and myself, the three of us sitting up in the front row watching Magnum Force.
Nothing says Merry Christmas, family.
Like a
than
Model
bunch
29
of dead
Smith & Wesson.
bad guys, you know? The dead bad guys are good.
In Finland, they've got a Christmas of Remembrance. Part of what they do in Finland is they go to the cemeteries. So I'm looking at a picture of a traditional-looking cemetery, with monuments, and they've got lights and candles and whatnot, and there's people out, and they're celebrating Christmas by remembering the folks and their families that they've lost, and that makes some sense to me.
They're
It does.
putting light on their...
They're putting light on them, and they're remembering them. And I have to tell you, having lost my dad, probably if I were to look back at my life in total and say what was my greatest loss, by far the loss of my father. So I can see why on a day like Christmas why that connection would be made.
Yes. Well, there are so many things that certainly an event that happens on or near the Christmas season they enter in individually.
In Venezuela, they go. You'll like this one, Matt. In Venezuela, they go roller skating. That's their Christmas tradition. Does that make sense to you? They're probably playing roller hockey, you think?
Yeah, I mean, we opened up a few times on Christmas Day when we owned our rink.
Did you?
Yeah, because there's not much to do. After about 5 o'clock, family stuff's done.
But you're right, though. There isn't much in the way of sports, like you would have on a Thanksgiving holiday.
I figured they were trying to skate away from the socialists.
Well, and Mom and Dad want to go take a nap. You can be sure of that.
Oh man, Sweden. I don't think I get this, but let the goat live until Christmas. So they must have sacrificed a goat at Christmas for, I don't know. I'm just reading headlines.
Maybe they're trying to help the Cubs win.
Could be. In the Ukraine, this is interesting. In the Ukraine, they decorate with fake spider webs. I don't get it, but they do. They've got spider webs and spiders and gold and silver, and they decorate all through the yard and through the house with what looks like Christmas at the Munster family. But
yeah, that's scary.
Well, when I was a child, our family, and you'll still see it
we're
occasionally.
talking wagon wheels, though, just so you know, folks.
Well, we used to use what they called angel hair. Are you familiar with, Matt? You may be a little young for angel hair. Angel hair was spun glass, and actually it was really crummy on your hands. It could actually cut you. But it would give that sort of spider webby view, and when you had the lights on, and if you had the angel hair put around the tree effectively, it would create a beautiful glow. Now, I don't know if people use that much anymore today.
I've not seen it in a long time.
But that was a tradition in our home.
And I remember it very, very well in the 60s, but I thought that was trying to emulate snow and ice running off the... That's what I thought. I certainly never attached to the spider web.
It did have the glow. The icicles, of course, you would have the little icicles that you'd throw on. But it is funny as times change, and of course the concept back in my day, back in the 50s and 60s, the concept of an artificial tree didn't even exist.
Was that 18?
It was. I remember Abe and I were out there with the axe, kind of fighting for the best tree.
When did you say in the 50s it didn't exist, or when?
In the 50s and 60s, at least to my knowledge, the concept didn't exist of an artificial tree.
Now I have a totally different memory. My grandparents in the 60s had, in fact, they had white, and I can't remember, there was different color Christmas trees you could get, but they were plastic. They were fake Christmas trees.
Oh, my golly.
And my grandparents had a white tree, and they had this disc that was a lighted disc that they'd set behind the tree or off to the side of it, and it had green and red and blue, I think, were the three colors. But this thing would oscillate. It would rotate around, and as it rotated, the tree would change colors with each lens.
And this is in the 60s?
This is, in the other side of the state. Is in southeastern Michigan.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they were technology, they were cutting edge. But, it used to be, and it was, Christmas tree farms, certainly in Michigan, used to be a very, very big business. And the concept, yes, you could go out and you could go to the grocery store, or you could go to a lot and buy a cut tree. But I don't know anybody who, at least at one time in their lives, didn't go out and with the family and go cut down their own tree and bring it with the sap everywhere, and and all of that kind of stuff.
We still do it in my home, and
there's still families that will do it, but it's really become a rarity for folks. Number one, to have a live tree, and number two, to actually go out and chop one down and bring it home.
Well, to go down to the back 40, yes, but to go to the Christmas tree farms, they're very, very busy. Where they're saying you want these kind of trees are down this lane, and those are down that lane.
Well, you still can find them.
I have never had a fake tree in my adult home. My parents did when I was a kid, but I've never ever. I've got a live tree now. I've got my sister out in Nevada. So I'm only going to make a guess, but she's probably got at least 5 trees up in her house. She goes absolutely decorates everything. It looks like I can't even describe it. It's overwhelming Christmas, but that's her thing, and she does it every single year.
And that's tradition, and to me, that's Christmas is wonderful. Certainly as a religious holiday, that's fine.
To me, it's a family holiday.
It's a
much.
family holiday, but it's a holiday of tradition, which, of course, is a lot what family is all about. And it goes back to generations like yourself as a grandfather, bringing your children in and letting them see what you experienced in the olden days when, in fact, we did have real trees.
Now here's one for you that'll make you both probably laugh a little bit. When my grandfather on my dad's side was a widower, and my grandmother on my mother's side was a widow. You know where I'm going with the story. After my mother and father got married, we're talking in the 50s, my grandfather and grandmother, paternal and maternal, they married each other. So what I never got growing up was, and I didn't understand it, by the way, until I got married.
I'm confused as heck right now.
I'm going to draw.
I'm feared for your life.
I'm going to draw the string for you. Now, as an adult, I go to my in-laws and I go to my family, which is what most of America does.
Yes.
I never understood that as a kid growing up because all of my family was there. Christmas was a massive, big blowout.
It's like a Tennessee Christmas.
Everybody was there. I didn't know that. I never knew there was a division, in-laws and outlaws and all that.
Oh my golly! Well, then of course, then one of the nice things to let folks who haven't had that experience is experience a few divorces, and then you've got like 9 families you've got to visit on.
Well, that's
on
true.
Christmas.
But when our family was just a huge family, which I took great pride in, by the way. It was really exciting. We did our Christmas parties on Christmas Eve. That way the individual families could do theirs on Christmas Day. But it was both my mother's family and my father's family. It was the way that now when my grandmother passed away, then you discovered that there was in-laws and outlaws because she was the glue that held it together. When she passed away, you could almost hear the sucking sound as the two families pulled apart, never, ever, ever, ever to reunite again. So, but it was that way for decades.
Yeah. Well, it is family. It is family. And however you want to celebrate the time, and whether you are a believer or not, and you may be someone who doesn't celebrate it, that's fine. That's okay. It's just unfortunate that some folks wake up every morning, some of them who are leaders of our country, and they are angry, they are upset that you would experience the joy of being with family, the joy of expressing your religion, and the joy of celebrating this tradition in this country, which goes back, 250, more than 250 years. It's unfortunate that there's what do you call it, hate in their hearts? I don't know.
My ex-wife, and she has had, because he's X'd out also, she had, her sister was married to a Jewish fella, and I remember him he'd come up to Christmas parties supporting his wife, but he was very Jewish, and he's opening presents. He's going, man, I love this Christmas stuff. So, because it was about the presents. But, folks, we're going to go to a break, and when we come back, we'll pick up right where we left off. We'll be right back.
And we return to the Mike Hewitt Show, brought to you by RenegadeRiver.com. And we're into segment 3, leading into Christmas.
We're getting closer to Christmas. I'm telling
Yes.
you, with every segment, we are a segment closer, and that's an undeniable truism.
You are so on the right. You nailed it. You nailed it, Mike.
You should have seen Brian's face.
Folks, I wish you could have
nailed
saw
it.
his face. He's going, what is he babbling
The
about
man
now?
understands time. Understands time.
Listen, does it feel, and maybe this is an age thing or generational thing, I mentioned at the top of the show that there was a difference between Matt Wiedenhoff's version of Christmas and mine. And I don't know if that's entirely true. Part of it may go to traditions that each family has. You were telling me at the Renegade River a few days ago that your family had a tradition with the big present.
Yeah. When you would sit there on Christmas morning, and I remember one year I wanted skis, and we just moved to Michigan. I wanted skis because I was enjoying the ski club for some reason. And you start getting upset all morning when you're unwrapping gifts. You're not getting what you want. It's like the one big thing you asked for. You didn't care if you got anything else but that. So you're unwrapping, and by the time all the gifts are gone, you're pretty salty. So my parents, every year, and I don't know why we never learned, but every year, as soon as we were done, they go, hey, Matt, can you go grab a garbage bag in the other room? And the whole way there, you're under your breath telling them off.
You're grumbling.
Oh, yeah, you're upset.
Folks know that that's not how he told me the story the other day in the shop, and I appreciate you cleaning it up.
I figured I'd do that for legal reasons.
Yeah, there you go.
So you'd be upset the whole way to get this thing, and you go in the other room, and bam, there would be the skis. And all of a sudden now you're like that little boy that found his red bicycle on Christmas morning again.
Yeah.
But they would do this every year to us, one of us. I remember one year it was my brother with the CD player. We lived inside the rink. To get the garbage bags was about a 300-foot walk to the other end of the building.
Right.
In the dark, alone, and nobody wanted to do it. And you'd walk out there, and next thing you know, there was a basketball hoop one year.
Sure.
But they did this every year, and it didn't matter how many times they did it. We'd get salty all morning, and then all of a sudden we get what we want. So I've actually carried that on with my kids.
So you do the same evil trick.
Oh, yeah.
Nice job.
So
It's
you
payback,
torture
right?
your children in the morning as part of your Christian tradition.
I get a gift. That's my gift to me, I guess.
You know,
I like that. I like that tradition.
it's kind of a funny one. It's a fun one. When you're talking about gifts, though, and we always hear this every year about the materialist America, but pre-World War II, gifts were very different. In the 50s, we really ramped up the value of gifts and the types of gifts. They got electronic. I mean, a lot of people will say, everyone's getting, this digital stuff. I've got a brand new iPad as my early Christmas gift, by the way. And I brought it in so I could get it on the station's Wi-Fi, and Jim Riley helped me before the store. So we think about things like that. But when I was a kid in the early 70s, I'm driving towards the family Christmas party, riding with my brand new brother-in-law and sister, and I'm asking, what'd Mom get me? My brother-in-law says, a stereo. Of course, he got in big trouble because he just told me. But
That's not right.
But my point in telling you that story is that that's kind of been the way we've been for a very long time. It's not new with your generation. And when I say it's not, I'm referring to the material side of Christmas. At Renegade River, nothing says Merry Christmas like a Ruger or a Smith & Wesson. And listen, people might roll their eyes while they're driving down the road right now, but firearms sales in general, and it's not because of any of the negatives, it's a winter sport. People are out doing a lot of target practicing. They've got time they're not doing the honey-do list in the summer. So it's a winter sport. But I'm wondering, I've always wondered if back in the days when people strung popcorn, we were talking about how trees are dressed nowadays. Back in the days when they did, what are those little crayon apples? Is that the right one? They would decorate with strings of crayon apples and popcorn strings, and it was a very different world. And
I remember Mom doing the popcorn.
But the present that you'd get pre-World War II was more often than not something that somebody in the family made. It wasn't a $400 stereo from Sears.
Well, that's true. But we didn't have the discretionary income that we have today.
Right. That's exactly right.
Little things really did matter back in those days.
But that's where I'm going. It's like the Bible story I told once, where I bought an old house that the lady that had owned it before me was a hoarder. So when I bought it, part of the condition of the purchase was that I was the guy that got stuck with the mess. And there was literally a path that went from the bathroom she lived in the living room, so you could get from the bathroom to the living room to the kitchen. It was a 2-story, several-bedroom home, but you couldn't get anywhere else. And on Christmas Day, I can tell you when it was. It was Christmas Day, 1996. We'd made the home livable. We had our family moved in. We were finally going, whew. We'd done the in-law and the outlaw Christmas visits, and it was late in the day on Christmas. And I finally thought, while all the kids are playing with their Christmas presents, speaking of expensive presents, I think I'll go up, and I've really not made it to the attic yet. So I go up to the attic, Christmas Day, 1996, and there's stuff everywhere. There's World War II era metal dollhouses. There's that same era, maybe 1930s roller skates. They were the metal kind that you strapped on with leather straps.
With a key?
I don't remember the key.
Might have even been pre-key. Yeah.
Yeah, they were, but there was a lot of that stuff. There was a lot of accounting books where the husband that had long since been passed away was an accountant back in the 40s and 50s. So he had just endless accounting books. But one of the box of books that I found were of the daughter. They belonged to the daughter. and I opened them up, and I've talked about that on the radio show. I just remembered. There was a Bible, but there was also a reading, a writing, and arithmetic book, 3 books. She was a brand new school teacher. In fact, you and I, Matt, have talked about this because you're a teacher. So I opened the book, one of the first of the 3 books, and inside it, when you open it up, it's from her parents. It's Merry Christmas and congratulations on your teaching. And it's for Christmas, they had bought her the book she'd be using as a new teacher, a reading book, a writing book, an arithmetic book. And it was signed by them on Christmas Day, 1896, exactly 100 years before I was opening it on Christmas Day, 1996.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, that was a shiver up my spine. And you open it up, I'm thumbing through the book, and there was a rose that had been pressed between the pages. Now, it was black, it was clearly a rose, and it had been there for however long the book had been parked, but it was signed Christmas Day 100 years before to the date. That was their idea of Christmas, is they bought her gifts to use in her. It was obviously a treasured thing. The books were like brand new. They were things that she kept very good care of. But I think gifts were more treasured back then, is where I'm slowly going with the story.
My mom gave me the disclosure this year. You're not really going to like what I got you. It's practical.
She got a bag of ice.
I probably would need that. But she had to give me a disclosure. Just so you're not upset on Christmas morning. I didn't get you anything you really wanted. It's all practical.
Yeah,
like it's bad.
You're still angry because you didn't get your skis. I mean, I don't blame her for being a little twitchy.
I'm not getting a garbage bag tomorrow or on Friday either. She can get her own garbage bag.
So Jim, you and Honey Bunch exchange gifts, I assume.
Absolutely.
Are they huge gifts? I mean, dollar value gifts? Are they $50 or McDonald's coupons? Or
we spend a reasonable amount.
Okay.
And we luckily I'm able to share Christmas with her family, so we enjoy it. And again, there's a difference. We've got folks certainly that we know here, even in the iHeart studios, who've got families, and they can't go running around spending $100, $200, $300 per child. They've again, times are a lot better for some than for others, and it just seems to me that those folks who are a little tighter on money may very well have a nicer Christmas than those who have the extra money.
I really think
there's
you're right
maybe quite a bit more from the heart.
When in fact, my sister, I was talking about how she goes bonanza with the decorating. I don't know if she still does, because I'm not with her every single Christmas because of the distance. But I know that when her children were young, and now they're both approaching 40, but when they were young, my sister would spend thousands of dollars. And so they were heading towards a Christmas, and I don't remember which one of them, I think my brother-in-law, but he asked him, do you remember what was your favorite gift last year? And they got the deer in the headlight look. They couldn't even remember what they got. And in fact, he's been on this show also because as a retired police officer back during the union drama as we headed into the various city shutdowns. But the point is that sometimes I think the material things steal from what's important. When I look at my own family, in fact, I have the show's announcement on Facebook today, and I see my daughter Marie has liked it. I've got 4 daughters. I've got 9 grandkids. I already opined a little bit that I really miss my father at major holidays. When I look at these things and I look back at the memories, I don't remember any of the things from any of the Christmases. I remember my family.
Well, again, like you said, you're going back to tradition, and to me, that's really what it ought to be about.
Well, I did get a
this is an
frame set
interesting tradition, and it makes. I'm glad that this was sent to me. John Van Wyck down in Florida has been sending us a couple of updates on texting, and he brings up a really good point. He says chicken and cake are a post-World War II effect. American GIs that occupied Japan were feeding the masses of the civilian population with fried chicken and cake because
that's why KFC there in Japan.
Because it could be mass-produced and was the food of choice of the GIs. And what people who are not familiar, of course, with World War II, those who even could put it in the same century are rare these days. But the people in Japan and the people in Germany and much of Europe, they were not worried about Christmas. They were starving. They did not have enough food to eat. They were not all that different than the people who now inhabit North Korea. And so what happened was, it was the American GIs who did have, America was a power, an economic power. They did have the ability to bring the food, and we kept millions upon millions of people. And when I say we, it certainly was not even my generation, but our parents' generation. We brought that there. That tradition, I did not know, and I'm really glad. Thank you, John, for bringing that up.
That's very cool.
That's really cool. And that goes back to that KFC.
When I was reading the KFC thing, I just couldn't get my head around why would that be a Japanese tradition.
Me neither.
What he's saying is
what a good story.
Yeah.
One last thing, because I'm sure we're running low, is a cool thing that we used to do, and that's why I asked you if you went to Catholic school. I didn't know if you maybe had done it. We used to put our shoes out in the hallway so St. Nicholas could put candy in them. Which was a Catholic tradition.
Really? That's kind of cool. Yeah.
I did go to parochial school, but I didn't get to celebrate that. My memory of parochial school was having the nun rat my knuckles and slap my face, and I don't know why, because I was a perfect little kid. I never understood. Listen, John Van White, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you for your notes. I'm really glad you did that. Folks, we skipped the Enigma report, but next week we're going to have a very fascinating New Year's year-end Enigma report to make up for this. We're going to double bubble on it. Beyond that, Merry Christmas to my daughters and their families, and to you and your families. Jim, Matt, Brian, Merry Christmas.
And to you all.
And to you.
Listen, what a fun show this has been. No, hardly any politics at all.
Well, it's Christmas time, folks. Celebrate.
It did sneak in now and then. But listen, folks, find us at Talk Mike Hewitt on Twitter. Find us at / The Mike Hewitt Show. And, of course, we've got the MikeHewittShow.com. So we're gettable. We'll see you next week. Have a very, very Merry Christmas.